Part 2. Under Finn Taylor's encouraging gaze, the Larson family's disbelieving gazes, and the envious gazes of everyone else present, Yvette Larson hesitantly walked toward the stage. She handed the card over to the host. The host took the card and showed it to everyone. It was clear that the number on the card was indeed 520. Ah! A piercing scream of envy resonated through the area, lasting for about a minute. The host waved his hand, gesturing for the audience to calm down. "Hello, may I get your name?" "Hello, I'm Yvette Larson." "Oh, Ms. Larson, how do you feel about winning the grand prize?" Yvette Larson was dumbfounded. In reality, she hadn't been the one who had won. Her husband had, but he had given her this opportunity. "Delighted, Ms. Larson, this set of prizes looks like a dowry set. Ms. Larson, may I ask if you have a boyfriend?" At the mention of this question, the audience perked up their eyes, waiting to hear the gossip. The Larson family, on the other hand, was disgusted and embarrassed. I'm already married." "Oh, Ms. Larson's already married. Then, is your lover present today? Can Ms. Larson's lover come on up?" The audience was almost exploding with curiosity. The Larson family wanted nothing more than to disappear into a hole at that moment. So what if she won a prize? Why did they have to bring up Yvette Larson's husband? That good-for-nothing piece of trash would be nothing but a disgrace to the Larson family if he were to go on stage. Unfortunately, Finn Taylor was not self-aware. He walked up the stage with a smile plastered on his face and took the microphone from Logan Yates. Others might not have noticed one small detail. When Yvette Larson had gone on stage, she had always taken the microphone from the host. When she finished speaking, she would return the microphone to the host again. But the moment Finn Taylor went on stage, he had not only taken a microphone, but he had even taken Logan Yates's instead of the host's. "May I have your name, sir?" "Finn Taylor." "Hello, Mr. Taylor. Don't you think these prizes seem like a dowry set? Do you want to propose to Ms. Larson again here?" "Dowry? Is this compensation? Does Peregrine Hall think that they can compensate me for their betrayal with these small tokens?" However, Finn Taylor was willing to do anything to please Yvette Larson. "As two become one, I take you with your faults and your strengths. I offer myself to you with my faults and my strengths. I will help you when you need help and turn to you when I need help. I choose you as the person with whom I will spend my life. Yvette, marry me." The Larson family's outing ended with Finn Taylor's proposal. The whole Larson family was in chaos. There were those who were envious and jealous, those who were contemptuous, and those who were sour. Ellipsis. "Yvette, I think you'd better divorce that piece of trash. What good is he? He even offended your grandpa today." The moment they returned from the birthday celebration, her mother Linda James started to criticize Finn Taylor. The way she saw it, it was entirely Finn Taylor's fault that their family had ended up in such a state. "Finn Taylor, here's the divorce agreement. Scram after signing it. You should know yourself best. Our family will never acknowledge you, and Yvette will never fall for you. If you have a conscience and don't want to drag Yvette down, you'd better leave after signing this." Linda James slammed a divorce agreement onto the table, forcing him to sign it. "Here we go again. Old master set this marriage up. We can't get a divorce. Do you want us to get chased out of the Larson family for being unfilial?" Francis Larson glanced at the divorce agreement and sighed helplessly while shaking his head. "Old master is already in heaven. Besides, we can always say that this jinx was the cause of old master's death. Why can't they get a divorce? Francis Larson, have you ever considered your daughter's happiness? Her status in the company is falling because of her good-for-nothing husband. Now, she's been demoted to being a salesperson. Among all the girls in her generation in the Larson family, our Yvette is the prettiest. If she were to get a divorce, Peregrine Hall might even give Yvette a dowry. Have you ever thought about that? Finn Taylor, you have to sign this today." Linda James slammed the table once again, expressing her firm attitude. She was not going to give in this time. Finn Taylor looked at Yvette Larson without saying a word. He was giving her the final say. It was true that he had dragged her down in the past 3 years. If she wanted to divorce him, he would agree to it. Yvette Larson walked toward the table under Linda James's excited gaze. She picked up the divorce agreement. "Mom, I'm not getting a divorce from Finn Taylor." Then, she ripped the divorce agreement to shreds. "Don't talk about how Grandpa won't allow us to get a divorce. Even if Grandpa agrees to it, I won't. Mom, for the past 3 years, Finn Taylor has been working hard for our family without a single complaint. What has he ever refused to do? Even if you raised a dog, you'd have feelings for it." Yvette Larson placed the shreds of paper on the table and turned to leave. Linda James's face turned completely dark. She jabbed her finger at Finn Taylor's face, shouting, "Look at what you've done. It's all your fault. You've ruined Yvette's life. You've ruined our entire family's life. Scram, you'd better not come into the house tonight. Sleep outside, scram." Finn Taylor left indifferently, chasing after Yvette Larson. "I caused trouble for you again." He then realized that there were tears at the corners of Yvette Larson's eyes. He tried to wipe them away, but Yvette Larson landed a slap squarely on his face before he could do so. "Finn Taylor, don't act like you know everything. Just because I'm not divorcing you, it doesn't mean that I'm in love with you. I just don't want to go against the old master. Who are you to touch me? I'd rather die than let you touch me. Didn't you hear what Mom said? You'd better scram from the yard and sleep on the streets tonight." Finn Taylor smiled bitterly as he headed toward the main gate. He didn't care about that slap. Yvette Larson's slap was for him, yet she was punishing herself too. She hated herself for being unable to cut the Gordian knot. Perhaps, she was the cause of her own downfall. When he reached the main gate, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. He turned around and fixed his gaze on Yvette Larson. "If I can change myself, will you fall for me?" Yvette Larson chuckled. "Finn Taylor, such words are useless. Haven't I given you the chance to do so in the past 3 years? You had a chance to bring Quince Larson down today, but you were still nothing more than a good-for-nothing son-in-law. You'll never change, and I'll never fall for you." Finn Taylor shrugged helplessly and took out a cigarette from his pocket to light it. Then, he strode out of the house. As Finn Taylor walked out of the gates, 2 words suddenly flashed through Yvette Larson's mind. Peregrine Hall. Was it just a coincidence between Finn Taylor and abundant life? Which woman doesn't want to be protected by her man? Can you really change? The moment Finn Taylor walked through the gates, he took out his phone and scrolled through his contacts to find someone named Poisonous Tiger. Then, he sent a message: "Let's meet up. San Francisco, in a certain Starbucks." In front of Finn Taylor sat an elegant and well-dressed lady. She sipped on her coffee and smiled. "Timothy, I'm really happy that you're willing to meet me." Finn Taylor sneered. "Timothy, I'm no longer called Timothy Taylor. My name is now Finn Taylor. The good-for-nothing son-in-law of the Larson family from San Francisco, Finn Taylor. Do you mean you've already forgotten that you were the one who changed my name 3 years ago? 3 years ago, you were the one who personally set up this marriage with the Larson family's old master. You were also the one who sent me to the Larson family. Do you mean you've forgotten all about that?" This lady was Wendy Jensen, the mother of Finn Taylor. She was also the matriarch of the Taylor family, which was the largest family of Peregrine Hall. Wendy Jensen took another sip of her coffee, seemingly trying to conceal her nervousness. "Finn Taylor or Timothy Taylor, this isn't what's important. No matter what, you'll be my son forever. You've suffered over the past 3 years." Finn Taylor sneered. 3 years? Has it really been only 3 years? From the day I turned 6, and you sent me to live in the servants' quarters, I had already been suffering. Has it only been 3 years? If not for Dad's illness and your precious second son disappearing after offending someone, you'd never have remembered your eldest son. Perhaps you could enlighten me about why he gets all your love while I live no better than a dog, and why you hate me so much when we're both your sons. I've done a maternity test. I'm indeed your child. That's why I don't understand why you've treated me this way." Wendy Jensen expressed her displeasure with a frown as Finn Taylor brought this topic up. Then, she took out a bank card and placed it in front of him. "This is a black card. You can have it. There are $15 million stored in it. I got Hunter Sullivan to set up a company in San Francisco. You'll be the chairman of this company in the future." Finn Taylor didn't reach out for the card but smiled instead. His smile was a strange one. "As expected, I expected too much from you. You want me to be Master Peregrine, but you're not allowing me to return to Peregrine Hall. Did you call the 4 guardians here to protect me or to put surveillance on me?" Wendy Jensen didn't reply and focused only on her own cup of coffee. Yvette Larson appeared in his mind, the Yvette Larson who had been dragged down and bullied by the Larson family because of him. "Forget it, I have indeed ruined her life. Since I have already promised to change for her, I won't allow myself to be humiliated yet again." Finn Taylor picked up the black card before leaving. Ellipsis. The next day, a company by the name of Xander Corporation was established. The ones supporting Xander Corporation were the Sullivan family of New York. The Sullivan family from New York, Yates family from Chicago, Scott family from Seattle, and the Kennedy family from Washington were the most established and renowned families in the whole country. And these 4 families were the ones who had established the Peregrine Hall alliance with the Taylor family. The family's heads Logan Yates, Hunter Sullivan, Alexander Scott, and Zachary Kendi were known as the four guardians of Peregrine Hall. Currently, Wendy Jensen had assigned all four of them to stay by Finn Taylor's side. The Sullivan family from New York was more reputable and established than any other family in San Francisco. As such, countless aristocratic families sent their regards and congratulations once Xander Corporation was established. Everyone wanted to have relations with the Sullivan family of New York so that they would be able to climb up the social ladder. Unfortunately, nobody had even been able to get past the main gates of Xander Corporation. Everyone had been stopped. Because of that, the Larson family had called for a family meeting. All the Larson family members were present. Of course, that included Yvette Larson and Finn Taylor. However, Yvette Larson was seated on a plastic stool at the end. As for Finn Taylor, he wasn't even given a seat. Instead, he had been forced to stand in a corner. Are you all fools? Why can't you get into the company? Are all the descendants of the Larson family good for nothings? Joseph Larson reprimanded the younger generations for being useless. Grandpa, this isn't our fault. There are so many other reputable families in San Francisco, but nobody else has been able to get in either, muttered someone softly, trying to rebuke him. Joseph Larson slammed his fist on the table. Don't find an excuse for your incompetence. Their elders will definitely reprimand them for their incompetence, but that doesn't mean that you guys are any less useless for not being able to get in. From tomorrow onward, every family is to send someone to be on standby at Xander Corporation until someone manages to send a gift in. The old master had already made his decision, but everyone else was feeling utterly helpless. They could already feel just how powerful and firm the Xander Corporation's attitude was. This was an impossible task, but now that the old master had already given his order, they had no other choice but to suffer in vain. As such, everyone turned to Quince Larson. Quince Larson was the eldest of the third generation in his family. He was the favorite of his grandpa and the most likely candidate to succeed the family business. It went without saying that his words held power. Seeing that everyone was looking at him expectantly, Quince Larson felt that his chance to establish his position was finally here. Grandpa, it might be better for one person to do this and persevere through it. That way, Xander Corporation will be able to see the persistence of our Larson family. I see. Why don't we let Yvette Larson do it? She's the eldest girl in the family and can represent our family. She's pretty too. I'm sure the old CEO of Xander Corporation will like her once he sees her. Quince Larson knew that this was an impossible task and was pushing the responsibility of fulfilling it to Yvette Larson. He was clearly trying to find someone to be his scapegoat and to get rid of his enemies using this opportunity. Grandpa, Yvette Larson was about to refuse, but she felt Finn Taylor's hand on her shoulder before she could finish her sentence. For some unknown reason, Yvette Larson felt warmth. It was as though Finn Taylor had given her some strength. Yvette Larson, aren't you a Larson? Why are you trying to shirk all responsibility now that Grandpa is getting you to do something so easy? Is it that difficult? Quince Larson saw that Yvette Larson was about to refuse. Thus, he quickly guilt-tripped her. Quince Larson, who said that I was not going to go? I was just going to ask Grandpa what I would get from this if I really managed to help the Larson family get on good terms with Xander Corporation. Quince Larson chuckled. He looked at Yvette Larson as though he was looking at a fool. Perhaps that whole family is crazy. The husband is useless, while the wife is a fool. Yvette Larson, who are you to talk about conditions with Grandpa? Quince Larson was furious. In the whole family, his grandpa Joseph Larson had the final say. No one, not even he, had any right to discuss any terms. But today, Yvette Larson had suddenly brought it up. What do you want, Yvette? Joseph Larson had shockingly agreed to Yvette Larson's request. I'll be in charge of dealing with Xander Corporation in the future. Yvette Larson, what nonsense are you spouting? It's obvious that the company makes the decisions. Do you think you're in the place to make such a request? I think you've been getting more out of hand lately. Is it because of that piece of trash you have as a husband? It's no wonder. Yvette Larson refused to back down and continued questioning her grandpa, Joseph Larson. Grandpa, if I manage to get Xander Corporation to cooperate with the Larson family, will I be allowed to take charge? Yvette Larson maintained her gaze on her grandfather, refusing to back down. Even she had no idea where she had gotten such courage from. Perhaps, it was the hand that Finn Taylor had placed on her shoulder which had spurred her on. Everyone in the Larson family was stunned by Yvette Larson's attitude. Has she eaten something wrong today? How can she speak to her grandpa in this manner? Everyone thought that Yvette Larson was dead meat and that they were as well. But just then, the old master of the Larson family spoke up. Sure, as long as you manage to secure us a deal, I'll let you be the person in charge. At that moment, everyone's jaws dropped. The Sullivan family was extremely reputable, and there was no way the Larson family could even compare to them. If Yvette Larson were to become the person in charge of the project, she would definitely be on good terms with the Sullivan family. Then, her position in the Larson family would definitely skyrocket. But when everyone thought more about it, they realized that this all hinged on the fact that they could establish a relationship in the first place. If the collaboration fell through, all this would be nothing more than empty talk. Quince Larson continued to pressure Yvette Larson. Yvette Larson, shouldn't you make a promise and tell us what you will do if you can't secure this deal for us, since Grandpa has already agreed to your request? If I don't secure the deal, I won't ask for anything from the Larson family's assets. However, what will you do if I succeed? Quince Larson rejoiced in his heart. Joseph Larson is already 80, and it's only a matter of time before his life comes to an end. Then, the Larson family's assets will definitely be distributed among the different branches. One fewer family will benefit me, since it will mean a larger share for me. If you succeed, I'll start respecting you as an elder. I'll address you as Sister Yvette, how's that? Then, Yvette Larson would be the most respected among the Larson family's third generation, while Quince Larson would rank second. Quince Larson had never politely addressed Yvette Larson as elder sister. Instead, he had always addressed her by her full name. In his view, he held the most power. What power could a woman possibly hold? Deal, Yvette Larson replied calmly and indifferently at the meeting. When she reached home, however, she started feeling uneasy. She had made a promise, but working with Xander Corporation wouldn't be that easy. What's wrong? Are you still worried about the collaboration? Seeing Yvette Larson in distress, Finn Taylor made her a cup of tea. Unfortunately, Yvette Larson didn't even take a glance at it. Actually, the key is not Xander Corporation but the Sullivan family from New York. It'll be much easier if you manage to find the address of the Sullivan family in San Francisco and speak directly to them. Finn Taylor had simply given Yvette Larson a suggestion, but what he received in return was her fury. Can you shut up? What do you know? Do you think you're a CEO of a multinational corporation and that you're in the position to be giving me advice? I only agreed to this because of your encouragement. I shouldn't have listened to you. Just as she was talking, Linda James and Francis Larson walked over. Both of them had overheard Yvette Larson's words. What? That's an unrealistic promise. It's all that piece of trash's fault. Finn Taylor, you're such a bastard and a jinx. What did our family do to you in your previous life that you're torturing us like this? You should know clearly about Dad's health. He'll pass on eventually. Our family will truly starve to death if we don't get a single cent of his inheritance and if the company falls into Quince Larson's hands. It's all your fault. Ever since you entered our family 3 years ago, our family has been on a downhill ride ever since. You're a jinx. Linda James's finger almost jabbed Finn Taylor's face. Finn Taylor didn't try to avoid her because it was indeed true that he had dragged Yvette Larson's family down. It was good for them to vent their anger too. Seeing him remain indifferent and acting like a good-for-nothing, Yvette Larson flared up even more. Can't you even rebuke others when they're lambasting you? Are you still a man? I've never seen anyone as useless as you. Yvette Larson turned and slammed the bedroom door behind her. At the same time, Linda James landed a slap on Finn Taylor's face. Look at what you've done. Look at how angry my daughter is. Will you really feel secure and happy only after you've killed my entire family? Finn Taylor bit his lips without saying a word. Only when both Linda James and Francis Larson had returned to their rooms did he cautiously approach Yvette Larson's room. He opened the door carefully, only to be greeted by a pillow thrown directly at his head. Scram, who allowed you to enter my room? Finn Taylor, don't think that you can enter my room just because we're married. The kennel downstairs is where you truly belong. In the past 3 years, Finn Taylor and Yvette Larson had never lived as a real couple even though they were married in name. Yvette Larson lived upstairs in a huge bedroom. On the other hand, Finn Taylor lived in a storeroom no larger than 2 square meters. It wasn't even a stretch to say that it was like a dog kennel. Actually, I haven't been slacking off over the past few days. I've already found the address of the Sullivan family in San Francisco. The security officer there is a friend of mine, and he agreed to let me in. This might be our chance. There was another pillow in Yvette Larson's hands that she was about to throw at him, but she paused upon hearing Finn Taylor's words. You're not lying to me. We'll know the truth once we head there. There's no need for me to lie about this. Yvette Larson stopped in her movements and eventually placed the pillow down. Forget it, come in and have a seat. I'm going to get dressed and put on some makeup, we'll leave in a while. Finn Taylor was stunned. This was the first time in 3 years that Yvette Larson had ever allowed him into her room. However, it seemed as though Yvette Larson was slowly changing as well. "Don't move, sit there." What Yvette Larson was pointing to was a small stool within her room. Finn Taylor shrugged and sat down indifferently. After 2 long hours, Yvette Larson was finally done with her makeup. "Dear, you look beautiful. Don't call me that. When we get there later, just pretend that you're my assistant and address me as Ms. Larson." "All right, dear." Yvette Larson frowned. "Understood, Ms. Larson." The Sullivan family had settled down in Pacific Heights in San Francisco. Pacific Heights' elevation and views of the city earned it renown as a scenic spot in San Francisco. It was the most affluent neighborhood in all of San Francisco. Any villa around the neighborhood easily cost more than $100 million. Living here was a symbol of one's status and that one had truly entered the upper-class circle. The Larson family's old master, Joseph Larson, dreamed of having a villa there too. He had once announced that he would hand over the family leader position to whomever in the Larson family could own a villa in Pacific Heights. Now, Yvette Larson and Finn Taylor were standing at the foot of the hill where Pacific Heights stood. Seeing the golden Rolls-Royce Phantom beside her, Yvette Larson was filled with curiosity. She seemed as though she were a country bumpkin going into the city for the first time. "When will I ever get the chance to sit in a Rolls-Royce Phantom?" "Just have a try if you want to." Finn Taylor indifferently opened the door of the Rolls-Royce Phantom, even gesturing for his wife to get in. Seeing Finn Taylor's actions, Yvette Larson was utterly shocked. "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you to keep your hands to yourself?" She shoved Finn Taylor aside, carefully closing the door. Yvette stared at her husband with a gaze full of resentment. "Do you know how much this car costs? I just want you to sit in it. Sitting in it won't spoil it." "Hey, Finn Taylor, I didn't know that you were such a romantic person. I would probably have thought that this was romantic if this was your car. Unfortunately, your actions are downright disgusting to me." At this moment, someone who looked like a security officer walked over. Yvette Larson's heart thumped frantically. She thought that they had been found out because Finn Taylor had meddled with someone's car. If this matter blew up, she would definitely leave a bad impression on the Sullivan family. Then, she could forget about ever collaborating with them. "I am indeed a fool for believing this good-for-nothing's words. He only knows the security officer in the neighborhood, not the head of the Sullivan family. Why did I bring him along?" "You're here, Finn Taylor. Come on in." That security officer walked toward Finn Taylor. Finn Taylor was excited and quickly introduced his wife and his friend to each other. "Dear, this is my classmate. He can bring us in." Yvette Larson had been in a rage and was about to chase Finn Taylor away. Her anger gradually subsided only after she heard his words. "Forget it, I'll let you stay since you're still a little useful. How should I address him?" "Oh, I'm Keith Kennedy." "Hello, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you for going through this trouble for us. When I hold a banquet next time, I'll be sure to invite you." Keith Kennedy waved her away. "It's no problem at all. Finn Taylor and I have been friends for years. You must be his wife. I often hear him mention his beautiful wife. You're just as beautiful as he described you." Yvette Larson was rather elated about being praised for her beauty. She glanced at Finn Taylor, wanting to scold him. "Who allowed you to address me as your wife in public?" In the end, she bit on her tongue and held herself back. "At least you have good taste and know that I'm pretty." Afterward, Finn Taylor and Yvette Larson were escorted in by Keith Kennedy. After going up many winding paths, the trio finally arrived in front of a villa. "Here we are. The Sullivan family head, Hunter Sullivan, lives here. I have something on, so I'll take my leave. It's all up to you whether you'll be able to meet him." With that, Keith Kennedy left. Yvette Larson simply thought that Keith had left because he was afraid that he would get in trouble for letting outsiders in without permission. Thus, she didn't pay much attention to him. The couple waited outside the villa for more than an hour. Then, that Rolls-Royce Phantom drove over. As the car rolled to a stop, a man in wampus robes stepped out of the car. Finn Taylor winked at Yvette Larson, who walked over. Although she appeared elegant and confident, Yvette Larson was feeling uneasy and anxious inwardly. "You must have waited here for a long time." Before Yvette Larson could even speak, the man in wampus robes spoke up. "I'm the head of the Sullivan family of New York, Hunter Sullivan. You must be here to see me. Come on in." As Hunter Sullivan said that, he led the way toward the villa. Yvette Larson was dumbfounded. What is going on? Others can't even enter Xander Corporation no matter how hard they tried, yet I'm being invited into the Sullivan family's mansion. How would the Larson family feel if they were to learn about this? "Hello, Mr. Sullivan, I'm Yvette Larson from the Larson family of San Francisco. Hunter Sullivan pondered for a while before asking, the Larson family? I know the old master of your family, Hugo Larson. How's he doing? Old master passed away from his illness. Yvette Larson felt a surge of complicated emotions at the mention of the late old master. He had treated her and their family well while he had still been alive. But Yvette Larson had never wrapped her head around why the late old master had insisted on her getting married to Finn Taylor. She had now become a joke in everyone's eyes. Sigh, we haven't met in 5 to 6 years. I didn't think that he'd be gone just like that. Forget it, let's not talk about that. You must be here to ask for a collaboration. Hunter Sullivan took out a bottle of Domaine Leroy Musigny Grand Cru from the wine cabinet while speaking. Mr. Sullivan, we're very sincere about this. I know that the Sullivan family established Xander Corporation in San Francisco and are looking for partners in all areas. The Larson family may not be the most well-known in San Francisco, but we're still a reputable family. I hope that Mr. Sullivan will consider working with us. Hunter Sullivan placed the bottle of 1985 the Macallan Fine and Rare Vintage Single Malt Scotch Whiskey on the table in front of Yvette Larson. Of course, we can have a discussion about our collaboration, but you should show your sincerity. Finish this bottle of wine, and I'll sign the contract immediately. The Macallan Fine and Rare Vintage Single Malt Scotch Whiskey was one of the top whiskies around the world. The collection was known for offering some of the rarest and oldest single malts. Amongst them was 1985 the Macallan Fine and Rare Vintage Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. The alcohol glistened under the light, emitting the fragrance of caramel and vanilla undertones. Its texture was silky and full yet mellow at the same time. 40% alcohol. 500 milliliters. If Yvette Larson downed it in one go, she would definitely be admitted into the hospital. In an instant, her expression changed into one of awkwardness. What's wrong? Are you not going to drink it? I guess you aren't that sincere after all. Then, please leave. Hunter Sullivan was chasing them away. Yvette Larson picked up the bottle of whiskey. What filled her mind were images of being criticized by her grandpa and being looked down on by Quince Larson and the rest of the family if she couldn't complete her mission. She slowly opened the bottle of whiskey and was just about to drink it when Finn Taylor snatched the bottle away from her. Gulp, gulp, gulp. Under Yvette Larson's incredulous gaze, Finn Taylor finished the entire bottle of whiskey. Finn Taylor, do you have a death wish? Let's go to the hospital. Finn Taylor wiped the corners of his lips and said to Yvette Larson, "See, sign the contract." Good, that was nice. Ms. Larson, let's sign the contract. The contract was signed with great speed. Yvette Larson was still in a daze after signing the contract, but she had no time to consider that for now. What she had to do was to send Finn Taylor to the hospital. Come on, let's go to the hospital. Finn Taylor stumbled out of the door. As he walked through the door, he turned back to glance at Hunter Sullivan. He silently scolded him in his heart. Can't you be more serious about your acting? Couldn't you have added some alcohol in at the very least? It was a whole bottle of water with no alcohol at all. Thankfully, Yvette Larson never drank alcohol. That was why she hadn't noticed anything amiss. Now, she was going to bring him to the hospital to get his stomach pumped. Am I going to vomit water out? Finn Taylor was stuck between a rock and a hard place.